Hi, my name's Jamie Ratcliff. I'm the Executive Director of People and Partnerships here at Network Homes. I'm just recording a short update from our last board meeting, which was on Tuesday, the 25th of January, on key things that I think will be of interest to residents. Sorry, this is coming a bit late. This is my second attempt at it, as the first one failed as my kids were watching Disney Plus and stealing all the bandwidth. They're safely at school at the moment, so hopefully it will record fine. The first thing I was going to update on was update from our Audit and Risk Committee. So at every single board meeting, each of the committee chairs does an update of key things which have happened in their committee meetings. Audit and Risk Committee is the committee I'm most engaged in, so I thought I'd update from there. And the key thing that Audit and Risk Committee were reporting back was what's called a deep dive exercise into cost inflation, which you hear a lot about in the press at the moment, of the cost of living crisis, and lots of people are aware of how rising prices are impacting on them personally. There's probably less discussion in terms of what's happening to businesses, and at Network Homes we're facing some very real challenges in terms of the cost of materials, but also labour going up, and the challenges that creates to us both in maintaining our existing homes but also building new affordable homes. And I was just going to read out a couple of things our feedback is that have gone up and how much they've gone up by in the last year. So bricks by 30%, blocks by 20%, steel by 37%, timber by 30%, insulation by 15%, and kitchens by 15%. And so this obviously has a big impact in terms of how many new homes we can build, but also on our existing maintenance activity, and kind of the pressure on operatives, which I'm going to come to in a minute when I talk about performance, is really acute. We know that we're not providing the level of repair service that we want at the moment, but it is a challenging market, and I'll outline some of the things that we're doing to improve that. Repairs are clearly the most important obligation that we've got to residents. Second thing, a bit more positive, which was reporting back on a contract that has now been approved by the board to sign with the Greater London Authority to deliver new affordable homes. And so we've got a contract there which the board approved for 1,000 new affordable homes, half of which will be for social rent, the other half are split between shared ownership, which is part buy, part low rent, and London living rent, which is a rent that's a lot cheaper than the market but more expensive than social rent. And the GLA are giving us £122 million of grant funding to deliver those homes. And even though we're not one of the biggest housing associations in London, there are several that are a lot bigger than us. That allocation is bigger than some much bigger housing associations, equal with some that are kind of treble or even more our size. And so just really shows that we're working really hard to provide new homes, new affordable homes for new residents, and that's a strong commitment for us. The third thing I was going to update on was in relation to what we call our resident choice strategy, which is basically our digital offering to improve and make more efficient services to residents. We've already got a portal that hopefully a number of you are using, where you can go on to check your rent account, to pay your rent, but also you can book repairs. You can choose a time slot when you want somebody to come and carry out a repair to your home. But we're looking at what we can do to do more. And so the board approved some continued investment in the portal, upgrading our telephony system, cleaning up our resident data, and a project of resident insight to work out what other things are important to residents, as well as live chat, both through web chat and an agent, all of which will hopefully improve the services being offered to you residents. And we plan to do some more beyond next year, and one of the priorities for that is a website optimization project to make it more accessible and user-friendly for residents to find what they want faster. And then the final part of the update I was going to give was in relation to performance. We take an update on our performance to every single board meeting, and that this pulls out our performance against about 15 different key performance indicators and commentary on why they're going well or where there's areas that need to improve. And the first one I was going to pick out is in relation to landlord gas safety certificates, where we have an obligation as the landlord to check the gas every 12 months for all rented homes. And we've got 100% compliance on that, so about 16,000 homes being checked every year, and that's one of our most important obligations there, keeping residents safe. I talked about repairs earlier, and those challenges are shown in the performance data, where we can see dissatisfaction with repairs has risen to 21%, which clearly isn't where we want it to be. In some of the analysis noting that there's been a 16% increase in material costs and that our contractors aren't fully staffed despite lots of efforts to recruit new people to carry out those repairs. And some of the things that we talked about that we're doing to address that include procuring an additional framework, so 6 new contractors who we brought in, who we can give work to when the others are under strain, and that we're also implementing a digital purchasing system, which will allow us to work with a wider range of contractors again, something that's getting a lot of focus. Also talked about our complaints performance, where despite the numbers of complaints that we're getting being up, they're about 10% up on where they were last year, and we responded to 95% of them within the time frame that we've set ourselves. This is like a massive increase on where it was a couple of years ago, and there's been a really concerted effort across the organisation to recognise the importance of complaints and recognise that when things go wrong, we need to try and put them right as quickly as possible, and that's what we're doing through our complaints service. Also had quite a long discussion around relet time, so that's how fast we can help a new resident move into a home after an old one moves out. And it's just taking too long at the moment, and the average in the performance report was 100 days from somebody moving out to somebody moving in. That's partly because a number of homes that had been empty for quite a long time were let during that performance period, but it's also something that needs a lot more attention, and we've got a project looking at what we can do to speed it up across the organisation. And then our trust measure, which relates to the strategic objective to strengthen residents' trust in us, which we brought in just over 2 years ago now. And I think what we found in terms of the measure is that it's really just tracking satisfaction with repairs. And as I said, repairs are the most important thing we do, so that's really important. But I think we were looking at getting more insight from the trust measure and really understanding how a broader range of things are impacting on whether residents trust us and whether that's increasing. So the board discussed whether we might want to change that measure or look at a different way of calibrating it so it gives us different insight. And that's something that will be considered in the next board meeting. So that was all the updates I was going to give. Hopefully you found that interesting. Our next board meeting is on Tuesday, the 29th of March, and there'll be a video log published shortly after that. Thank you very much.